Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm John Body, author of The Agentic Investor. So let's get started. We all know that you're here for a reason, right? Everyone's heard about it. AI, agentic AI, it's coming for your jobs, laying off thousands of people from tech companies to finance companies all over the world. This is why you're here. And it's not your fault that you do not have financial education like the people on Wall Street, okay? So stop blaming yourself because you see all the billionaires and this multimillionaires and all this kind of stuff. So we're gonna change that all today. You see, you guys are human beings like me. We're all retail traders. We didn't come from Wall Street. We don't slosh around billions of dollars of other people's money. Now, those are the smartest people in finance, of course. But there's one thing that they don't tell you. They don't teach you this stuff in school. And you have to realize right now, you got to get it through. Right now, I want to be direct with each and every one of you. And I'm not trying to be a jerk or anything. I'm just from New York and I'm direct, okay? So there's an algorithm that basically predicts price levels for next month, next week, tomorrow, or even next year. And I didn't learn about this stuff until I actually had to start investing my own money. Some guy I had hired had let a seven-figure account drop by 20 or 30%, and he didn't even give me a phone call, right? So I'm like, all right, enough of this. You know, I went to engineering school. I'm looking at these candlesticks. I have a background in video games. But I'm like, look at these candlesticks. This looks like a two-dimensional video game on Wall Street where money is the score. So a lot of people, you know, don't really pursue their own financial education, okay? There's an algorithm on Wall Street, right? But they don't teach you that in school, and it's not your fault. Remember, you're here for a reason, okay? I actually went to engineering school, and you know, I loved programming and business and building a client base and helping people solve problems. So, got my engineering degree in MIT. I spent a lot of time at the Sloan School taking different courses. The most important course I ever took was entrepreneurship, which taught about the cash flow, the predictive live pro forma, meaning into the future, the cash flow, right? So that's the key of business. The cash flow flows into the income statement, and then you have a balance sheet at the end of every quarter, right? So basically, the gentleman at the bottom was John and Pete Najarian, and I took their course. Now, they have sort of more expensive courses for seasoned and options traders that want to up their game. And so that's what I did. It was a 3-day live training seminar. There were actually 2 live days. And it wasn't really like a mathematical course where you're studying this. We were in a classroom, but we got a great overview of different things like the 10-year and the oil price and just volatility index, right? So the thing that I want to impress upon you is that we must, in this age of the agentic AI asteroid, we must seek our own financial education. Now let's take a look at the markets, right? This is a 1-year chart. This is the S&P, SPY, right? So this is the ETF that tracks the market for the last year. Now if you notice right over here, there's a dip. You see that? That dip comes in March. How many farmers do we have in the audience? How many people have ever grown a tomato or grown anything? Okay, if you know how to grow stuff, right, you're never going long those seeds. You're never planting the seeds and hoping they come out in 6 months or 5 months with a crop in the winter. You're planting them in spring. You're planting in the winter. Maybe you're selling off your bumper crop, right? So I grew up in a family where, you know, my ancestors came from Calabria and they were farmers. And then when I grew up, you know, everyone on my Italian side of the family were always growing their own tomatoes and different vegetables to make the sauce and everything because they never wanted to buy anything that was put out by anyone else except they knew all the ingredients. They grew it in soil, the medium was perfect, and the sauce is amazing, right? So what we want to do is we want to take a look at the S&P, right? The ingredients, right, just like the sauce of the S&P. We know that we have to go long the S&P in March and April, right? As traders, it's called the Trader's Almanac, right? And just like there's a Trader's Almanac for the entire year, where you plant your seeds, you go long your stocks when the market crashes because of whatever news. Remember, the news and all that BS is your friend, right? As long as you don't get scared, you gotta wait, right? And what do? We take a look at a candlestick chart. Now this is the period Each one of these is a month, right? And there's the big thing, that this is the Trump tariff stuff in March and April of 2025. What we did is, yes, some of our stuff got stopped out, but that's okay. But what we wound up doing is we went long a big portion of our sideline cash right around here. Why? Because in this chart, you can't see it maybe on the screen, but we'll cut to it in the video. This is the S&P without anything, right? Here's the S&P during the same time period with predicted support and resistance levels. Now think of these support levels and resistance levels like the floors in a building, right? So, you know, you got your basement 3, your basement 2, your basement 1, those are your support levels. Then you've got your pivot, which is kind of the in-between, that's sort of the average of the market, right? So you've got these ceilings of resistance. And usually we go up 3 levels, sometimes 4 with crypto or options, things that are more volatile, right? So these lines that you see right here, these green lines, especially this one down here, I mean, the market hit they're all predicted. So the month before, so this is February, right? At the end of February, these March levels are known. These April levels are known at the end of March. And the same is true with day trading. We don't recommend day trading. I've done it. You can make a lot of money in an upward swing in the market, but when the market turns, you know, I mean, you're bound to turn into a casino gambler. So we recommend going long, good positions, and then if you want to get a little more advanced, you can sell puts or put credit spreads for income. And that's a great way to make, I don't want to say passive income, it's slightly managed, but you let the decay of the options work in your favor. Let's take a look at the next chart. The most important thing, besides all the algorithms and the AI, is to do this. When you're young, especially if you're a teenager, make sure that you open up an account, right? And you save that account forever. You don't touch it. But when you get some extra money, you keep buying good companies. And if you don't know what to buy, just buy QQQ, that's the NASDAQ, GLD, that's gold, and SPY. Why? Because as the markets are going up, inflation is taking the dollar down to 0. I mean, the dollar has lost 99% of its value in the last, 70 years, especially since we came off the gold standard. So the key to remember is that it's not your fault. You're here for a reason. You need to learn financial independence, and that comes from your own pursuit of mentors in the financial space. And you don't have to be day trading and doing charts. Our software actually, if you want to take a look at it, I'm not pushing it, but our software actually does all the predicted algos and stuff, because I got sick and tired of doing it by hand or going into, TradeStation has a great back end, but we're not running a hedge fund. We're running a family office, a small, it's not billions of dollars, but that's what most people do, right? So I've used these and the Trader's Almanac to understand where the market is. And you can also look at liquidity pools, and you can look at, where the algorithms on Wall Street go. But the main thing for most retail traders to understand is that you go long in March or April, and then you let that trade manifest itself. You can sell covered calls against it, you can trade around it, but you got to build a long-term position. Okay, that's my book, The Agentic Investor. Now I'd like to take some questions. Right. The question is, how do you make money every day? Well, we don't make money every day. We actually have a dashboard which actually pulls in all of the support and resistance levels and buy and sell signals that are essentially in the market right now. So the average person, or even the smartest person on Wall Street, can't go out physically by themselves and look at thousands of stocks. A computer can do it like that. AI is actually getting to the point where it's starting to learn different relationships between things in the market, like volatility, oil, the 10-year, the stock market. I mean, all these things actually coalesce and work together, especially when trends. Remember, the trend is your friend. And I'd like to close by saying this one thing, that with your financial education, you've got to be greedy, because greed, for lack of a better word, is right. Greed is good. Greed works. Greed cuts through, captures, and creates the essence of the upward surge of mankind. And greed, in all of its forms, greed for life, greed for love, greed for money, knowledge. Greed, and you mark my words, will not only fix your personal financial situation and education, but that other malfunctioning corporation known as the USA. Thank you very much.
Who manages money better? Spartacus and Crixus trade stock and cryptocurrency. Spartacus speculates on meme coins and jumps for the buck. Crixus uses Wall Street's algorithm of predicted price levels and buy-sell signals at algos.ai. Spartacus watches the news and gambles his money in the markets, following every trend online. Crixus gets alerted on his dashboard and only invests in great companies at a low price. Crixus scans the markets and knows what stocks are up, down, volatile, and most traded. He's learned that like the TikTok algorithm, there is a Wall Street algo which predicts price levels, things he just wasn't taught as a pup. Spartacus the speculator gets wrecked and rug pulled like a junkyard dog begging for his next meal. Go to algos.ai and get tomorrow's predicted prices to start making more money today.
Was it all just like a dream? Did the year 2020 really happen?
It was Thursday, January 30th, 2020, when all was just swell. The markets were at an all-time high, and volatility was at an all-time low.
We had just gotten back from our college ski trip over in Utah, and we kept talking about this image, this video we kept seeing. We wondered, is that stuff going to come over here?
The algos were pointing to something big happening in the markets. At first, we thought a market correction would be triggered by the Soleimani event, but the markets just gobbled it up and kept making new highs. Still, our algos were making money, but I wanted to up my game. I was trying to attend John and Pete Najarian's annual course on unusual options activity in Miami later that March. It was a 2-day live training seminar, and there was only 10 students in the class, but it cost $10,000 each to attend. During 2009,
I sought various mentors in fintech. Their guidance was enormously influential to my algorithms.
On that particular day in January, Thursday the 30th, Amazon was set to report earnings after the bell. It was trading at $1,871 per share just a few minutes before the close. I had not traded at all that week, but I saw AI Trader gave a buy signal on the Amazon stock. Now, for all you poker players out there, I view the 5-day trading week as the 5 cards in poker. The flop is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 4th Street is Thursday, and the river is Friday. The beauty of checking the flop or not trading Monday through Wednesday during earnings season is that you get to see how the market behaves early in the week without risking any money. Now, on that Thursday, we saw the general market trend was up, still very bullish. The market had already had a string of earnings announcements in tech. High flyers like Tesla had jumped 10% overnight. I figured Amazon likely had a good Christmas and was trading 10% below its 52-week high.
And even if the stock went up 5%, that would translate into over $7,000 per contract in a call option.
Could I actually raise the $10,000 needed for John and Pete Najarian's option course in the options market? Enrollment was closing the very next day, and it was 3rd down and 15 to go, and the 2-minute warning had just sounded. We needed some Mahomes magic to go train under the Najarians, both former NFL players turned pit traders. I decided to jump in 5 minutes before the market closed. Volatility was cheap, so we bought 4 in the money 1850 February 7th call options at $5,200 a piece, risking about $20,000. This is our maximum dollar amount for an unhedged bet. After all, Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs were playing that Sunday in the Super Bowl. Could the stars align? Even if the stock jumped 2 or 3%, we could see a $5,000 or $10,000 gain on the entire position.
The next morning, I went for a run up in the Palisades. I hadn't checked Amazon stock. But when I got up there,
I Googled Amazon stock, and to my amazement, Amazon had jumped 10% and was up $200, trading at $20.75 per share, adding 200 points of intrinsic value, or $14,800 per contract. 1 minute after the open, our $20,000 position sold for over $76,000, gaining a cash profit of $56,000 overnight. It returned 274% on the money with 6 minutes of total work. The Mahomes magic had shown through, and that Sunday the Kansas City Chiefs would fight back from a 20-10 deficit in the fourth quarter to win Super Bowl 54, 31-20.
Patrick Mahomes was going to Disney World, and I was going to Miami to train with John and Pete Najarian, perhaps two of the most well-respected options trading legends in the world. You see, I was a retail investor just like everyone else. I spent a career in video games building teams. I got into making games as a kid when the graphics just seemed amazing. I started out programming games. I was the programmer on RoboCop vs. Terminator, then shooting the animation. I worked with Sly Stallone on Demolition Man, then the motion capture, then leading teams, and then we got funded to start Black Ops Entertainment. At Black Ops, we built many video games with a lot of talented people. I cannot stress the importance of building a good team that can actually gel. I worked with Jose Villeta on so many projects, and fellow New Yorker Jess Buten, who's one of the best line producers in the business. Jose and I built many teams at Black Ops, producing all kinds of games. Basketball games, underwater games, street hoops games, N1 Street Ball, boxing games, X-Files, a Terminator 3 game, James Bond games, military games, and the studios paid us millions to produce these. And when you build great teams, those team members help you build more great teams. Like Jess, she introduced me to Chad Stahelski and Dave Leach, these stunt coordinators and stuntmen that were prominent in the business. They became our stunt team at Black Ops. Chad and Dave became some of the biggest directors in Hollywood.
A lot of experimentation with all our wires, all the flyings, all the reactions.
So after almost 2 decades of making video games at Black Ops Entertainment, we switched to fintech because we really wanted to help people make money. We even made a commercial with Grace Skinner playing a famous hedge fund manager in New York.
In a world of financial uncertainty, money manager Rose Connolly has a leg up on the competition. She sees markets in 3 dimensions, and her computer tells her when to trade. Her secret weapon, high-speed trading algorithms designed by MIT engineers. Experience this revolutionary 3D stock app today, bringing hedge fund quantitative analysis to the everyday retail investor.
It was great to be back in Miami. In class, we learned to look at the 10-year, the volatility index, and oil.
What's my risk reward? Okay, I got to just out of the money. You know, obviously a buck would be a big move, but what if it goes from 672 to 750 in a week and a half? These are moving.
All they do is express what you're thinking in your head with their algorithm. So they say, okay, I want to be on both sides of the market. I want to have a bid and an offer, and I want to always be for 2,000 shares, 10,000 shares, whatever the number is. Okay, great. So what it does is they all do the same thing. Virtually every algo that Pete and I have ever seen does this. But they have little tweaks to it because they know that there are these hunter programs, or whatever you want to call them, that go after bids and offers and try to get it to waterfall or roll over or roll to the upside.
Each night they would take us to the best dinners so we could actually interact with their staff and other trading students. I happened to be seated next to John Najarian. Over dinner he told me that it used to be illegal to have a computer on the floor of the exchange. Also, when you're trading, you'd have to have one foot on the floor because guys were jumping on each other's shoulders just to be seen in the crowd. And if you hit someone, it was $5,000 per punch. At lunch, John told us an amazing story.
I don't want to trade against those guys, and you'd rather not trade against maybe the Goldman and the Morgan paper, against. We were talking about trading with them, on our side, but trading against them, yeah, I'd like to.
So who knows who the first firm was that was buying order flow? Bernie Madoff.
Really?
So Bernie, and I know this guy pretty well, because he tried to sell me businesses a couple times. But Bernie,
It's a good thing you didn't buy the shell.
that's a fact. Bernie had, a non, he had no career really on Wall Street. I don't remember that. Do you remember that? Yeah. Waterhouse Security. Anyway, so Bernie figured out, I'll go to all these discount brokers. Bernie started making money fast with that scheme, but he was all manual. He was, like a dinosaur. So he had a room full of traders. So they do 100,000 shares. They're making 9 cents on those 100,000 shares net. So this is just a printing machine. So he's paying his traders lots of money. He's making lots of money. He starts going out and getting money from investors and all the rest. And then he does something really stupid. He goes on 60 Minutes and talks about it.
At the end of class on Friday, we were all in a jovial mood. But John and Dirk kept discussing the fact that this virus could explode geometrically. They called it.
Investigates go out, they stop testing.
And remember, the judge laughed when I said
Yeah, I know.
tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. I was like, where are you getting that from?
John and Pete were a class act, and they were really passionate about teaching. On Saturday, we went on this boat cruise all around the Miami harbor, and I got to speak with Pete Nigerian and Bill Johnson, who's like their master options instructor. Bill and I were talking about this trade, the vacation trade, the concept of having a trade where you set it up and there's an expiration maybe 2 months out, but you set up that position, whether it's a synthetic or a covered call or just a long position with a limit and a stop, and then you basically let that trade manifest itself. Over those few days, we'd become like a family and had joined the Market Rebellion team. I got back to the hotel room that night and wondered if I should go back to Los Angeles. I missed my ex, to be honest. We'd cut dozens of great tracks in the studio. She was writing a song a day and drew a crowd as a live performer. The sun was setting on Los Angeles, and gone were the lunchtime strolls from the office where you could go down the promenade and we hear this beautiful violin from that Ukrainian child prodigy, Karolina Protsenko. Now there were tons of homeless, drug-using, zombie people everywhere. It was ridiculous, like almost out of a movie, and it was sad because no one comes to help them. I called my bro real quick for a second opinion.
Hey, man, how you doing?
Hey, bro, what's going on? Hey, I just wanted to get your opinion on something. I just finished the classes here, and I don't know. I don't know if I want to go back to LA right now. I'm thinking about going on vacation, maybe to Costa Rica or something.
Oh, you just finished the options class, correct? Didn't that cost you like 10 G's or something?
Yep.
Yeah, so you just finished the options class. Isn't it time to get back to work? What are you talking about, vacation?
Well, I was just thinking about, we were talking about this vacation trade. I was talking to Pete and Pete Nigerian and Bill Johnson about...
Maybe a little less thinking and a little more like acting, a little more work. You got bills to pay. You don't even have a job. What the hell are you doing? Sorry, man. I'm just trying to tell you. Like, that sounds crazy. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Well,
I'm on a clock at work. I just now that Mateo logged this bug, I got people emailing me, or not emailing, slacking me. So I got to deal with this.
All right, man. Later.
All right. Later.
Well, that was useful. I typically go with my gut on these things, and something was telling me not to go back to California tomorrow. I needed a break and kept thinking about that vacation trade. Turns out I found a one-way ticket to Costa Rica for $170 from Miami International, and my decision was made. I took a red-eye out of Miami, and I awoke a few hours later to the most beautiful sound. It had been some time since I returned to Central America. I shot some of my favorite photos there. Exotic wildlife, amazing sunsets, beautiful women, perfect waves. It's an amazing vacation spot, especially if you're into adventure and speak Spanish. When I got down to Costa Rica, My luck had changed. A position I had on had stopped out and I lost $4,000 in a morning. The markets had sold off and it was signaling something. It rained that day, so I stayed in and just coded for the entire day. Now, I had a friend down there, an American who lived with his wife in Costa Rica. He worked at a Chinese hedge fund and we'd always grab a coffee and talk about the markets. I would learn so many things off him too, like most Chinese hedge funds sell all their portfolio and go flat right before Chinese New Year. I didn't know that. Mike actually knew John and Pete Najarian because they both traded on the same trading floors out of Chicago. That particular day was a few days after I got down there. We talked about politics, the markets, interest rates, everything. We mutually came to the same conclusion that the market was heading south due to the exact flu that me and my MIT buddies excessively viewed on our annual ski trip back in Utah. I said goodbye to Mike after our cup of coffee and a brief chat and went back to my hotel room. I decided to buy put contracts on both the S&P and Amazon stock, betting that this overseas flu would tank the markets within the next few weeks. I bought put options a few weeks out, so I wasn't stressing about expiration.
After placing this $43,000 put position, I went down to the Italian restaurant and just chilled out. The way I saw it, that $43,000 was really the house's money. And if I stopped out at half, so if I lost $21,500, well, I'd still be ahead. I was sick of candlesticks and looking at screens and algorithms, so I called an old friend to see if she wanted to come out for dinner. She's from Honduras and only speaks Spanish.
Salud. By the end of dinner, I wasn't thinking about the markets or candlesticks, and the only options I was worried about were hers, whether she was going to put me down like in America and go home, or could I call her up to my room. What a fun chick. Oh my God. It was great to be long her calls. Wow, what an incredible, crazy day in the markets today. The S&P dropped 7%, triggering the New York Stock Exchange's circuit breaker trading halt for 15 minutes. We were trying to get out of our positions and we realized that everything stopped. But fortunately, we had the puts on the S&P and Amazon. I had made another incredible 70% overnight trade. I had made my first win back in January, almost 300% overnight with these Wall Street algos. And my intuition about the retail market and how I thought Amazon would have a great Christmas based on my experience in the video game business. I took my 4K loss using risk management. It also spurred my conversation with Mike at that Chinese hedge fund. And I used the concept of seeking a mentor, getting higher education from a really experienced pro. In addition, I used what's known as the 11-year market crash cycle, a concept that John Person had drilled into us. In total, my initial $20,800 turned into $104,000 in 45 days without day trading. I made 400% being a retail trader.
I wired out my money, and if there's one thing I've learned about the markets, if you ever make a bunch of money or lose a bunch of money, get away from the markets. The vacation trade had worked, and now it was time to go on vacation. I went out to the balcony, and it was just such a beautiful day in San Jose. But I wanted to get out of the city. I wanted to get away from computers, away from all the bars. I hit the road. There were so many great things about Costa Rica. I wanted to go up to La Fortuna, Arenal. It's a volcano up there. Beautiful vacation up in La Fortuna.
La Fortuna debe su nombre a la erupción del volcán Arenal que destruyó todo excepto esta afortunada ciudad. Para mí, Costa Rica es mi segunda casa. Amo a la gente de aquí.
I got back to San Jose and everything was on lockdown. So I hit the airport to go back to LA. The flight was practically empty. It was great to be home and see my dogs. I took them out to get some supplies. I mean, what good's an extra $100,000 if you can't even get toilet paper? By St. Paddy's Day, Los Angeles and the world went on full lockdown, and things were getting worse. It was escalating. And that summer, tensions nationwide would explode. Looking around in that moment, I knew we had lost Santa Monica. Victoria's Secret, 3rd Street Promenade. End of June. It's like June 24th. Over the next year, I worked on my algo so I could distribute them to a mass market. I put in features I wanted, like no ads, easy click and drag backtesting, gap detection and resolution, Fibonacci retracements, buy and sell signals, predicted support and resistance, and I wanted to switch so I can just view fundamentals right there. And the software also flags companies that have crappy financials. It'll tell you, poor financials. That next summer, I would spend time at my dad's place up in Colorado, away from all the noise in Los Angeles. I was trying to finish the U.S. Treasuries part. I was worried about something I saw, or didn't see, in the bond market. Rates had stayed essentially at zero. Money was almost free. I had one more trade to make, and it would be one of my toughest trades. Trying to sell my home in Santa Monica. I wanted to test the market and see how much a 1,500 square foot townhome would sell for. It was a race against time. I felt like it was a do or die moment. I was unsure if I could escape. Even though I was almost done with programming, I had to get out of LA. I felt like the Fed was going to keep raising rates, diminishing people's buying power for real estate, and that California was dying of fentanyl. Santa Monica and headed up to Malibu Creek State Park, one of my life hacks. I love camping with my dogs. In fact, I grew up in the woods in Long Island practically playing all the time, so I love being outdoors. It was so much better to see deer in the morning than junkies all over Santa Monica. My dogs loved it up there. It was amazing. In fact, the Tesla that I was in was just a simple Model 3, but that Tesla has a camp mode and it has a dog mode. So you can leave your dogs in there for hours and it'll be regulated airflow at a certain temperature. In camp mode, it's essentially the same for humans. So we went up there, I was gonna pitch the tent and everything. That Tesla is so comfortable. I put on my Netflix with surround sound and I fell asleep. And the next morning I woke up and I realized I had one more ace up my sleeve, one more trick. Market Rebellion had a conference that was pushed out from COVID to October 1st, 2021 in Las Vegas. So is that what it's all about? You go to school for 12 years and then 4 more and then you never learn the basics of the stock and options markets? We're not supposed to think about 20 or 30%, God forbid 200% overnight. We're programmed to be safe, to think about 4%, 5%, 2% per year, and we're supposed to be happy with that, even if it doesn't match inflation. Mankind is the best at making the easiest things so complicated. Take like these solar towers here. Instead of just having solar panels, they're killing tens of thousands of birds. Vegas? Now Vegas was a trip. A giant wealth exchange engine just sitting there in the middle of the Mojave Desert. I felt alone with no real sense of belonging. By gutting and listing my home, I'd placed a huge bet on rates rising. But a few weeks later, I would get the best news ever. My townhome in Santa Monica that I had bought over 15 years ago for $300 and something thousand had sold at asking. I was free of California. It was like a load off my mind. And less than 4 months later, in April of 2022, Santa Monica would be rated one of the most dangerous cities in California. And that next year, the Fed would raise rates to unprecedented levels. And my Jacks, Spartacus and Crixus, well, they were a huge hit. I mean, I would go to the Venetian for gelato. They love gelato, so they'd be standing up on their hind legs and sitting pretty and all these things that we trained them.
They're brothers, yeah.
Well, these guys can draw a crowd. It's amazing. I even gave them their new brand. And let me tell you something, I felt so good, it was time to party. And I was in Vegas. Vegas is great for a weekend. There's a lot of fun spots there, but I get bored quick and I gotta develop stuff. So I got an office down in Town Square at the WeWork. And at night, I had it all to myself. There's an old saying where I went to school, you could take the hacker out of MIT, but you can never take the MIT out of the hacker. We weren't out here like the MIT blackjack team counting cards. We were counting candlesticks with algorithms. Even at the time of this recording, during the year 2023, I took $16,000 and invested it right before Meta had earnings. I was long, and that $16,000 turned into $37,000 overnight. In options trading, Vega means volatility, and that is the lifeblood of every options trader. Las Vegas means the meadows, and it got that name because the early settlers that came to this region saw meadows springing up, little hopes of life springing up in an otherwise valley of desolation. And by leaving California for Las Vegas, I was more focused than ever. My goal was to have everyone have access to these Wall Street algorithms.
Markets open, positions filled. My stocks are up by $500,000. My appetite has been fulfilled. Look, I'm in and out before dawn. I put my position on, yeah. I sell options, I'm a trader with those algos, while at the same time in LA with top models. Candlesticks make me rich, I celebrate, rotate my hips, just like this, just like this, yeah. Ever since I made the switch, right around the time you fell in love with Twitch, I was stuck in the past, caught in the ditch, repeat on reminisce. Dollars didn't make sense, dollars didn't make sense, caught in the matrix, caught in the matrix. Look, I had to get that New York swag, so I multiply the bag. I keep it classy like a modern day jag. We puff on pack fakes while you choke on those drags. I develop apps, invest money. I'm making trades on the app, staying tuned to the market cap as I spend my free time with 808 bass and the hi-hats. I'm only in it for the dreams and the finance. Forget the club, I sacrificed it for the romance. In life you really get one chance. Shout out to Eminem, I give him props for that. I sacrificed a lot for the cash, but my soul is still intact. I zoomed in on the hardcore facts, bird's eyes view, I have a clear vision. The future is extended, I got my tech skills up, and now I'm living, yeah. I am disciplined, successful, aggressive, and fearless. I am disciplined, successful, aggressive, and fearless. I am disciplined, successful, aggressive, and fearless. The underdog made it to the top, so climb it to the top and feel this. The underdog made it to the top, so climb to the top and feel this. Candlesticks make me rich, I celebrate, rotate my hips, just like this, just like this, yeah. Ever since I made the switch, right around the time you fell in love with Twitch, I was stuck in the past, caught in the ditch, repeat on reminisce. Caught in the matrix, caught in the matrix, dollars didn't make sense, dollars didn't make sense, dollars didn't make sense. Candlesticks make me rich, candlesticks make me rich, I celebrate, rotate my hips, just like this, just like this, yeah. Ever since I made the switch, right around the time you fell in love with Twitch, I was stuck in the past, caught in the ditch, repeat on reminisce. I am disciplined, successful, aggressive, and fearless.
Who manages money better? Spartacus and Crixus trade stock and cryptocurrency. Spartacus speculates on meme coins and jumps for the buck. Crixus uses Wall Street's algorithm of predicted price levels and buy-sell signals at algos.ai. Spartacus watches the news and gambles his money in the markets, following every trend online. Crixus gets alerted on his dashboard and only invests in great companies at a low price. Crixus scans the markets and knows what stocks are up, down, volatile, and most traded. He's learned that like the TikTok algorithm, there is a Wall Street algo which predicts price levels, things he just wasn't taught as a pup. Spartacus the speculator gets wrecked and rug pulled like a junkyard dog begging for his next meal. Go to algos.ai and get tomorrow's predicted prices to start making more money today.
Why is Crazy Island the best Unreal Engine Fortnite island coming out soon?
Oh, this is a great weapon! This weapon is great! What? Right behind you. See, they respawn really quick. What does this one do? Guided missile! No way! Dude, pick up the guided missile! This one right here! Fly into the... Boom! It's Ukraine! Are you serious? What? Playing this one for a little bit, actually. So
You're gonna beat your maker, I think.
Oh!
Oh, right into your head.
Oh! Oh, he got it! No way! The drone's got it! Woo! Dude, this is great with the... Oh, it's great.